Let's explore a little bit the compass cards. So that's where it's got the little symbol at the top like that. There's 5 cards. They're not in 5 element colors. They're just in purple because they're like an extra. So in bioenergetic wellness, there's 4 key pieces that make, it's like their own little formula. When you use these pieces with any kind of action item, which is towards a goal, then you have greater success of succeeding at that goal and making it effortless. That's the goal, is effortless. And so one of the pieces is, before you begin any activity, you know what your goal is. So at the start of the day, if you have a little routine that you do, some people do that because it helps them to be a little bit more flexible. They might get rid of a little bit of pain before they start their day. Some people like to do affirmations at the start of the day, which kind of give them an inspiration for the day. If you want to make a change towards something new and different, you want to be able to put it into motion, but you want to do it so that all of the energy you're going to put into getting to that own end goal is towards the goal, and that the fringe stuff doesn't really come into play. That's what you're doing. So the compass cards are there as part of the bioenergetic wellness package. And bioenergetic means anything that's going to raise the energy to help you have the energy to sustain and store for when it's needed, and anything that makes you feel good. That's what bioenergetic is. If you do an activity that takes your energy away, then it's considered bioacidic. Not necessarily that it's an acid, it's just acidic. That just means it's gonna take more energy for you to get back into flow of energy because of that pullback. So that's what bioacidic means. So I might have 3 choices of drinks in front of me. So maybe I've got a water, maybe I have a coffee, and maybe I have a juice. And maybe I'm thinking the orange juice would be really good for me. But what happens when I drink the orange juice is all of a sudden I just kind of get really tired. That would be considered bioacidic. So even though orange juice could be good for you, at this time it makes your body really tired. So if you had like water, and you drank the water and all of a sudden the energy kind of did a perk up and a lift, that would be considered bioenergetic. So it didn't take any effort for you. You just kind of all of a sudden were perked back up again. Now, given that example, it could be that you have the cup of coffee, which has caffeine in it. So you give a jolt to the adrenal glands and it sets in motion a lift. But then in a little while, you have a drop off, maybe because the adrenals couldn't support you energetically. So in that case, you might have a lift, which seems like bioenergetic, but then you could have where your body actually declines after that. So you just have to make sure when anything that you're doing, it's always in a nurturing kind of way. I'm not saying coffee's not. I'm just saying if you notice that there's this point where you kind of hit the curve and you start to decline, then that's when the energy wanes off of it. Now, bio-neutral would be something that if I drank the orange juice, say, and like I didn't really have more energy and I didn't really have less energy and it was just like whatever, that would be considered bio-neutral. It didn't really take energy away. It's not going to require more energy for you to pick up your energy, but you also didn't have a lift of energy out of it. So those are the 3 ways that you can kind of gauge some of the things that you're doing. And I'm explaining that because when we work with the compass cards, what we're trying to do is create flow towards your outcome that doesn't require extra effort. It lifts you up to get there. Now, sometimes to get to a goal, you've got challenges along the way for sure. And you need to work through the challenges. But sometimes, you know, when you're working towards a goal, it's like, oh, you just constantly hit brick walls. And it's just like, I just can't seem to get to the goal. Sometimes we're not really on the path. We didn't actually set everything up. We get kind of caught in other details that aren't part of our goal. And sometimes that running into the brick wall could be that. So there's lots of factors involved, but on the most basic level, here's what you've got in the deck of cards. So the first one, I'm going to actually bring this one up first. And this is creating community. When you walk into a room, or I'm on the internet, so I'm online all the time. When you come to a room with other people to engage with them, look them in the eye, you can actually change the tension in your body just by making eye contact. And that connection with someone else, what happens is they call it the innate healing potential. The innate healing potential in the body is immediately ignited because we engaged with someone else. So it's really, really important. If your energy is lower and you feel like, I just don't know if I can do this, then reach out to someone. Go to the next room and find someone to make eye contact with, say hello, have a conversation, call someone on the phone. Someone said, if you ever need a hand, just give me a call. Give them a call, because just making that connection can ignite that innate healing potential. And that's what we need sometimes to just get it, and off we go in flow. So community is really important. If you have a group of people that you tend to hang around with, you can use them as a mechanism or a support and link all together. So when you get together, you all have the same intention for why you're together. And then all your activities are related towards that intention. And then you have the power of the whole group. And that happens when I'm in my Tai Chi class. So I can do Tai Chi by myself. I'm very proficient at it. I can have nice flow and balance come to all the systems because of the activity of the movement. But it is not the same as when I go into class and I connect with the people in the class, and then there's this synergy that happens. And we're all there for the same reason. We're all there to do Tai Chi together and to help boost our immune system and to get flow happening, strength, flexibility. And in that process, all of us working together really pulls all of us into that goal in a much stronger way. Okay? And that would be, again, that no effort piece that I was explaining. So community plays a huge role in what we're doing. And so if you find the places where you can gain support, that's going to help you with that no effort piece, because together you lift the energy up and you help to support each other. And that's bioenergetic. That's what we're looking for. So that's on the compass card. Remember to make some kind of connection. Okay, then we have our awareness card. How do you know what you're going to participate in this deck of cards is even going to make a difference? How are you going to know that? So there are different ways that we can know. In bioenergetic wellness, we do what's called muscle monitoring. That is, we could take a muscle in the body and we could find out if it was going to hold with some integrity or if the energy was going to drop out and it would drop the muscle. And so very often we'll actually do something like we could do at the deltoid. So shoulder muscle here. And I could put my hands here and I could put a light bit of pressure here to see if the muscle's going to hold or if it's going to drop away. Now that would be me working with someone else, checking in with their muscle. But you have this deck of cards to yourself. That's not always going to work, that you've got someone else who could check all the muscles for you. And in Touch for Health, we would check all different kinds of muscles to find out about all kinds of different systems in the body. And we can dig in different ways. But that's not going to work for you, working for yourself and playing with this deck of cards and trying to find exercises that are going to build your energy. So the awareness that we're going to use is coming from the senses. So what do you smell? What do you taste? What do you hear? What do you sense? Those pieces are really important for you to be able to bring awareness there. So sometimes when everything is in flow, and it's like you just feel great and it's like, yeah, this is awesome. You can hear the birds singing. You could be humming a tune. You could have thoughts in your head like, I can do this, or this is easy, or I have ease and flow. So you have lots of those kinds of ways of knowing. And also sometimes it's even you You just stop to be present in what your goal is. And then all of a sudden it's like, I can feel that. I notice the heat actually, or I notice it's cool, or sometimes people get pictures and it's like, oh, I can see the whole thing. It just comes to life, or colors become more vibrant. Those are ways of knowing. Now you also have, where is the tension in the body? So one of our favorite ways of doing this is to use the neck muscles. And the neck muscles are linked to the stomach meridian, which is they're linked to how we process emotion. And they also can tell us if we're really stressed out, then you usually end up with a stiff neck. So it's a great tool for knowing where tension might be. So my recommendation is getting used to knowing how far you can turn your head. And I've got a couple of ways that you can check on things. So the first one is you could bring your hand forward with your thumb, and then following your thumb, see how far with your eyes you can turn before you kind of have to stop because it gets tight, and then come back. Just notice what that feels like. And then you have the other side. And so traveling that one around and bring that one back. Okay. Usually when I do this, my head from my shoulders here, I can pretty much see to the side. And then there's something in my back that kind of stops me. Today I have a little bit of tension down the back here on the one side, so it's limiting me more on one side than the other side. That's what I can notice. Okay, so that would be how far could you turn. But then you also have other aspects of the neck. You can learn so much from the neck muscles. So if you take your head, ear over to shoulder, what do you notice? And then you might feel it kind of pull down the back here. You might have different points that you kind of notice. Then you could take your chin and you could lift it up. You see what you notice there? And you can feel your vagus nerve, part of it runs here, but it's linked in with this tension in the neck. You can feel it go right up behind the ear. And you might notice what that feels like. Okay, and you could roll your head down. Just notice what it feels like at the bottom. I can really feel that one spot of my neck today. Okay, coming around to the other side and just noticing the ear to the shoulder, what this side feels like. And it can be different than the other side. And then you have the chin go up towards the roof and just notice. Now you may hear me talk about assessment all the way through the different videos, just making sure people take the time to assess. Okay, and bring this back down, just bring it forward, and then bring it back up to straight. Assessment, once you get used to it, you really start to realize when you notice tension coming in and when it disappears. So this is a really good opportunity for you to learn more about when things start to tense up for you, and then asking yourself, what just happened? Who was I talking to? What situation was I in? What thoughts did I have that might have brought me back into that tension? And then deciding, is it even valid? Do I need that much tension? Or can I let it go? Can I move forward into some action and I can release that? It's not important for what I'm doing. Okay, so let's do one more. So your chin is going to go up towards the roof, but you're going to put the tongue on the roof of your mouth. And then you're just going to feel, what does it feel like to open underneath the neck? So I'm just going to, so you're not dropping your head back, you're actually lifting from the chin. So right now when I do that, it's pulling right here on the end. So you've got the salivary glands, you have the functioning of the tongue, you have the functioning of the lips, you have the TMJs, the way the joint is moving, up into the sinuses. You have the proprioceptive system back within the ear, right kind of at the soft part of the palate. It comes in inside in the skull. All of that, if you have tension in different parts of the neck, all of that can be affected. So your awareness of where you are in space can be affected, and the proprioceptive system is linked back down to the feet. So that would be another way of knowing. But right now I'm talking about the neck. Okay, so we had the opportunity to just check in, what does it feel like? When you go back later, after doing some kind of activity, assess again. And just make sure that you know that what you've been doing has made a difference. And if it hasn't, then you might not need to use that tool. And if it's made a difference, just to realize how much of a difference and where you notice it. So where I was turning one way and the other way, if they're different on both sides, you may notice they balance out. And very often people will notice, like when you go to turn, the head is trying to do the isolated movement. But when everything's in link, and it's a whole body movement, and you can feel all of the tissue engaged together. So that would be another way of knowing. All right, you could touch your toes. Now, it's not about can you touch your toes, it's what does it feel like to get down to touch the toes. And as you do that, just noticing what does it feel like in the neck, shoulders, back. And just get a feel for what does it feel like to reach down that way. And that's going to also change based on the kinds of activities you're going to engage in through the deck of cards or something else in your toolbox. Okay, then you have monkey thoughts. So those are those reoccurring things. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. I should have done more. Nobody's going to pay attention. All of those little things that replay that maybe someone said to you a long time ago, but you actually held on to it and you keep it. So you might have those kind of monkey thoughts. And then you have the monkey thoughts of the lists, right? The grocery store, don't forget to do this. Oh, on Monday, I've got to do, you're running through all of these things. Those checklists very often mean you can't be present because you're so busy trying to remember all these things and you want to be able to let that go. So those are ways of having awareness. And I'll talk about them as we go through the activities, but I wanted you to really be present with what does awareness mean for you? What are you noticing? What kind of cues do you pay attention to? And when you start to really become aware, you'll start to notice more. I will talk about a little bit later the body sway and how you're standing on your feet. And that is another way of knowing, because then you'll be able to feel when you're grounded into your feet and when that means you're like really centered in what you're doing. And then other times when just like one little variable come in and then like just throws your balance off. So we'll probably explore that through the foot senses. And that'll give you an opportunity to really play with the body sway. But that's another way of knowing. Okay, so then we have intuition. What is it, you get that, I really think I should do this, right? And then have that background sense that something needs to happen. Following your intuition is important. So we have a circle that's going around the bear here, and that's just being aware of what's going on around you, the kinds of messaging you might get, which is a deep breath. That's another way of having awareness. How is your breathing? How is your voice? Maybe sight. What do you hear? Is your hearing acute? So those pieces pay into what's happening with your intuition. And this one here is coming from your heart center. So sometimes you make a decision with your head, but your heart hasn't come along with it. And you go to do something that's like, this doesn't feel right. Something's not quite right. Something has to change. You need to be doing something different. And that awareness of intuition, being present with that and going to your heart center can be very helpful for finding the relaxation or the lack of tension within the body in order to accomplish something. Okay, so then we have the two cards that kind of work hand in hand, goal setting and intention. Goal setting. I want to write a book. And then you say, I'm going to line up all these chapters. I'm going to talk about these different things. In order to do that, I need the computer. I need to have certain kinds of programs ready to go. So you have all these details that go around that goal. But the goal is writing the book, and you have steps. That's a linear way of doing it. Sometimes they refer to them as SMART goals because it's very calculated, and you have these milestones to get to the end. And that's important sometimes. But then sometimes you have this intention. So my goal might be, I have some challenging things happening today. Maybe I need to be very creative. So my intention for the day is to create ease and flow for creative juices to flow on my activities today. Okay, so that could be my intention. That's a little bit different than goal setting. I'm going to finish the book. This is, I'm going to create ease and flow for creativity to happen towards my outcome of what I'm working on. So they're really close, but slightly different. And when you have your intention, you've got that vision all the time of that end piece. Same as the goal, right? I'm going to write the book. But you might write the book and it doesn't go anywhere. It sits on the shelf. So you want to maybe take that a little further. I want to write a book that will support the world. So now you have a vision of you're a number one author, right? So you're number one author, you're out doing book signings and everything. That's well past writing the book. But you could see how that could pull your goals and pull your activities forward. And that's your intention. My intention really is to be on the number one booksellers list, right? That's my intention. Intention might also be, as a performer, to have that fantastic performance where you just feel so wonderful at the end of the performance and you've satisfied the audience. That would be setting the intention then of those pieces. Now, the goal could have been, I want to nail all of the parts of the choreography. I want to make sure my technique is bang on. I want to make sure I smile at the right points. Those would be some of the details to the goal. The intention is that overall feeling that everybody's going to have at the end of my performance because I've done it the best that I could possibly do. So they're really close. They have a little bit of different parts to it. And it's, what do you want on the end? What's that ultimate feeling, that experience that you're going to get out of the goal? And how can you elaborate? And all of what we're doing with the cards is, when you bring some of the cards in towards goal and intention, it's how can you get towards that goal with ease and flow? That means you're going to have no effort to get there. All right, those are the compass cards. We're going to play through them all the way through, but I really wanted you to get to know them because they don't look like they have very much to them, but they're really a substantial piece in making bioenergetic possible pieces in it. All right, let's get back to playing.